Hey, Gator Nation. Welcome back to the Respect Our Decision podcast. As always, with me are Mike.
What's going on?
And the hype man, Wes.
What's good, Gator Nation?
And we got a jam-packed show for y'all today. Just want to go ahead and remind y'all real quick to please make sure y'all download us on all your podcast providers like Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, anywhere you can download your podcast. Make sure you check out our YouTube channel and subscribe for all our future content coming. And go ahead and if you want to support us as creators, hit us up on our Patreon at Respect Our Decision. We've got some big future things coming, including some giveaways on that Patreon. And we'll let you know as they come. Shout out, as always, to Utah Gator for being our first ever Patreon. And real quick, guys, want to make sure we give a big shout out to our sponsor, Camwood Supplements. Please make sure y'all visit camwoodsupplements.com. Enter code RESPECT20 to save 20% off your first purchase. Great products over there. Great all-natural supplements. I highly recommend the Super Greens if you have any digestive issues whatsoever. They work wonders for me. I really, really recommend that. But without any further ado, guys, we're going to get right to it. We got a big special guest today, Nick Torre. Senior writer for On 3 and Gators Online, and you know him from the Stadium Gale podcast. Nick, what's going on, man?
I'm getting bigger, so I don't know if I'm special, but I'm definitely getting bigger, eating good. That's for sure. So I guess that's what you meant by special big guest. But yeah, I'm glad to be here, guys.
Special big guest, man.
Yeah.
Hey, we're still new in this pod world. Every guest is special, man.
Okay. Hey, it's cool though because you don't need much. You just need an internet connection and like a pair of headphones. All you need is like an Apple pair of headphones and it's just some guys talking football.
And that's what we do, man. That's what we do. We had an up and down week, man. Up and down couple of weeks, and we just really want to kick it around a little bit and talk about what's going on with the team and where they might be going to next. But, this is a recruiting podcast first and foremost. So we obviously want to go ahead and start out talking a little bit of recruiting, and you being on 3 there with Corey Bender and the gang. Y'all do a terrific job over there. Get lots of great interviews and lots of content out. What's the vibe right now going around the Gators recruiting world?
Yeah, I think, man, it's Billy Napier's recruiting has been a roller coaster. I mean, you miss on a couple of guys, and I thought like 6 weeks into Billy Napier's tenure, I was like, man, this is the quickest a coach has ever been fired by a fan base. Like, they were ready to run him out of town, and then they kind of figured things out. They had like a 14-week stretch or a 14-day stretch where they were just getting recruits left and right. And then I think once the season started, the big thing for me was that they didn't want to have any official visitors. And I think the thing about that is if you think about recruiting and what a visit is like, yes, you want kids there to see the environment that you got in Utah. Yeah, you want them to see Tom Petty. But in terms of a visit, an official visit is you're not getting out of it what you could in the fall, what you could in the spring or later in the winter. And by that, I mean the coaching staff is either Friday night out watching games. Saturday, they're in the hotel with the team. There's a mission. There's a goal. You're not getting that FaceTime. You're not getting that one-on-one time with your position coach, with all these other recruiters. And Florida's put in, just that they've got 8,000 people on staff to handle recruiting. But they really want to have just one game. They think the LSU game is going to be big and special. So if you want to come for an official, that's the game. Otherwise, they want you to come to an official when they can be all hands on deck. So I like that. And I think you saw that an official get changed from last week, and I think that'll be rescheduled for LSU. So to me, the recruiting is only going up, and you're in that sweet spot for first-year head coach where you're going to do with the roster that you inherited, you're going to do what you can. But now you're still able to point and say, listen, if we had you, Mike, if we had you running the ball for us, like we haven't had a chance to get our guys in, you see this deficiency we have, you come in and you're going to fill that for us. And we're looking for guys like you to come in and you're still in that sweet spot. If you're a 5th-year coach, you can't really say, hey, we have a deficiency on our team. Well, you've been recruiting for 4 years. That deficiency is your problem. So now you're able to put it on somebody else and tell these guys, hey, we might take our lumps this year, but we need to get guys like you in, guys that we want into our program, and that's when we're going to be special. So I think you're in that sweet spot right now. The swamp wasn't as good for Kentucky as it was for Utah, but it's been two really good environments. So any player that's there can see or start to picture themselves, hey, I want to run out of that tunnel and hear this for me. So I think the swamp has done its part in recruiting as the 8,001 and first member on staff. I think the swamp's done its job, and then Florida's played well. I think the defense played well enough to win the football game against Kentucky, and obviously everyone played well enough to win the opener against Utah.
Absolutely. And just a note about moving those official visits back, that also, you always want to position yourself to have as close to the last visit as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a old trick out of Saban's book that I'm sure Billy knows as well that he's probably trying to employ. Mike, you had something you wanted to ask off of that?
Yeah. Nick, how you finished your statement there toward the end? First, did the ink that Kentucky loss had an effect on recruiting?
I don't think it does, and I don't think any one game should.
Okay.
Like when they say the fan base or the media leaked his commitment and now he's not going to commit to that school. I'm like, all right, well, that's probably not the kid you want in your program. The one that's going to be like, oh no, they ruined my surprise, so I'm going to take my party elsewhere. That's probably not the kid you want. So if you lose to Kentucky and it's Billy Napier's second game as coach at Florida, Billy Napier hasn't even coached 50 games as a head coach yet. And you played a coach who's been the head coach at Utah for 18 years. Stoops is in his 11th year. Both teams are top 20. Three of your first four opponents are top 20. I don't think any one loss is going to hurt Florida. Like Derek Lagway's in the swamp. I think he's more like, dang, this is really cool. This is a really cool environment, more so than they lost to Kentucky. So I need to think about that when I make my decision in a year of where I'm going to go play in 2 years.
And just to follow up on that, you pretty much touched on it with Billy's having a bump class. I've been saying you just pretty much have to look competent, and you essentially sell like, hey, we just need you in this class, and if you are deficient in say like tight ends, you're like, that's what you're selling. Like, look what you could do. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Hey, they're not selling tight end to anybody.
Sorry,
the tight ends on this team are an extension of the offensive line. So correct. I don't know if you're not getting the next Kyle Pitts to come down and look at your offense and say, hey, yeah, that looks fun. I want to go do that. But that's exactly what it is. It's like, hey, listen, these are my guys now. But I didn't to steal like a Parcells line. I didn't go shopping. Like I'm making dinner, but I didn't shop for the ingredients that we're making dinner with. So that's definitely a thing that a first year coach and maybe even a second year coach can get away with. Now there's definitely an expiration date on that recruiting pitch, but Billy Napier's in the sweet spot of being able to do that because yes, he's been here since December, but he inherited this team. He inherited this roster. So you're definitely selling that to people. And it's like, hey, you can even show them film from Louisiana and say, listen, you didn't see that on Saturday, but we just don't have the guys to do that yet. But this is what our offense can do. So I make the joke about the tight ends, but you might be able to show them something on film if you have a tight end on a visit and say, listen, I know we threw 3 passes to tight ends tonight, but look, here's what like the full arsenal is. We just don't have that skill set or that player in the offense yet to really do it, to really open up the offense.
Yeah, I equated that to somebody yesterday. I said he's basically trying to put a puzzle together with pieces that aren't meant or fit this puzzle right now.
Yeah, and you drop the puzzle in the pool, and now you've got soggy pieces, and you're trying to
you're trying to make them fit any way you can to put the best puzzle together, but the picture might not look great when you're done.
Yeah.
Wes, you got a question you want to ask Nick?
Yeah, kind of like a 2-part question. I had a question in mind to start off, but then us talking about what we were just discussing about the class that he has in now and who he's working with as far as Mullen guys. There's a lot of talk about the 3 years and what years should he be established. People, there was a 3-year test thing going around from another podcast that people love to employ. I'm not a believer in that because in year 3, those players that Mullen had are now juniors, and your players that you recruited in are now freshmen and sophomores, and then that sophomore class wasn't really a full class for you. So how do you feel about that? Because you kind of touched on it already, but what is the year you think that coach is it year 4? Because I'm thinking year 4 maybe, because now your first class is juniors, even though that class is kind of half. If that makes sense.
Yeah. That makes sense. I used to be a big proponent of you have to give a coach 4 years to get a full recruiting class, a full 4 in. But now with the transfer portal, what is that timeline? You look at Mel Tucker at Michigan State. He comes in and he gets a bunch of guys from the portal and almost wins the Big Ten. So I almost thought, well, is the timeline shorter now? Like you in the past, you couldn't go get a Ricky Pearsall. You couldn't go get no Cyrus Torrance or a Montrell Johnson. If those guys did transfer in, they'd be on the bench, not even in pads watching the game, next to us. So I've almost backed off of my, you need 4 years, because recruiting isn't just get the freshmen in and it might take some time. Recruiting is now like, hey, we can go get, like, if Anthony Richardson leaves for the NFL, finishes the year strong, leaves for the NFL, they're going to be back in the portal for a quarterback, and you might get, a junior quarterback who could start for you next year. So I think when you look at recruiting, I used to be big on, you need to give a coach 4 full years, get 4 recruiting cycles in. And I agree with you, Wes. It's like, hey, even in year 3, you've got now a freshman class, a sophomore class that might be a bunch of redshirt freshmen who didn't really play a ton. So you're not even you're still playing with the other guys, recruits. Yeah. But I think with the transfer portal, that kind of skews things a little bit, because you're not having to rely on only recruiting freshmen. You can recruit freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, graduates. So I wonder and I think now you probably shorten that time frame just because of the transfer portal.
Cool. Before I ask the same question, I meant to say this before we started. It is big to me. Like, you and Spivey and Zach were the first couple people I followed when I first got into this, like maybe 6-7 years ago. So big shout out. Appreciate all the work you did. I've been following you for a while, man. So, and I got to get Zach on here, because when he was doing the radio show with Jeff, that's how that led me here too. I was calling and he hooked me up with some people that led me to Mike and then her. So yeah, I had to plug that in. But my real question, you've been following Gator Nation, as I said, for a while, and this your 3rd coach? Were you here with Muschamp?
This is my 4th coach. 4th coach in 10 years.
My bad.
I might be the problem.
I shortchanged it. My bad. I shortchanged it.
The solution to fix Florida football might just get me out of town. And they might figure it out. This is my 4th coach.
My bad. I shortchanged you. I didn't mean to shortchange you. What is the difference between in the program, since you've been here for 4 different coaches? What do you think sets Napier apart from Muschamp, from McElwain, and from Mullen? Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I think for me, Jim McElwain didn't understand the expectations. Like, he got to Atlanta and he was good. Like, yo, we're winning the East. We're putting up banners for winning the East too. Like, why are they mad at me? Why don't they, like, we're doing what we're supposed to do? And I'm like, no one's gonna be happy when you lose to Bama by 28 in the SEC championship. It's not about getting there; it's about competing. And then I thought Dan Mullen, I was like, he was part of creating the expectations. He'll surely understand it, and I think he understood it. He just didn't want to do the work to meet those expectations. I think Billy Napier learned so much under Saban, under what those expectations are. He may not understand them, but he knows what they're going to be and that they're not going to change. The biggest difference to me with Napier is when Jim McElwain came, he talked about having the 2-year calendar. And I don't know that they really followed it. And that's a Saban thing. It's like, what you're doing 2 years out from today. I think Napier has that same philosophy because they both learned it under Saban. But I think he's got the people around him that can take work off of him, can take a load off of him, can take a load off of Rob Sale or any of the other coaches, Jabbar Jalouk, because you've got a slew. We joke like, oh, Florida has 2 offensive line coaches. Well, they also have like 6 graduate assistants. There's just a slew of people there that are always handling things. And I think if you look at it now, you're going to see more teams try to copy this model, because with NIL, with the transfer portal, with recruiting, with coaching. There's just too much for guys to do. So I think that's really the biggest thing. And credit to Billy Napier, because I had a coach from the Big Ten hit me up and they're like, how did Napier get all of these people hired? I've been trying to get 2 people just to help with recruiting for 5 years, and they won't hire 2 more people. So it wasn't just, and listen, Florida's been accused of, having tight purse strings for a long time, and they're spending money on graduate assistants, on analysts, and all these people. So Billy Napier was able to not just ask Scott Strickland, hey, I need 80 guys on staff. He was saying, hey, I need 80, and this is what they're all going to do. No one's just standing in the corner making popcorn. So I think that's the biggest thing. And I think you're going to see people try to copy Florida and have all of these other things, because there's just too much for a coach to do, especially in the season when it comes to recruiting and game planning and coaching, to have to handle all these other things.
Absolutely. So Nick, right now, Florida sits number 9 in the On3 team rankings. We're going to make sure we use On3 team rankings here because Nick's with us. How do you feel like Billy is, obviously we got a few pieces left out there that we need to get, but how do you feel like this class has come together as far as filling the needs of this team?
I think you still need. I think it fills the needs. First off, I think it fills the needs that Florida has. Obviously, you can look at linebacker, look at offensive line. You're going to need to get guys there, especially when you look at the offensive line. You're going to lose Richard Garage. You're going to lose Torrance. You could lose a guy like Kingsley Eguakon. You're going to need to replace some guys, but I think you've got some big pieces like Kelby Collins, and Aiden Mizell, TJ Searcy, Eugene Wilson, Will Norman. Like, these are big names to get. Jakeem Jackson. I think the defensive line recruiting, like Sean, I don't know if Sean Spencer, it gets like a raise with every blue chipper he gets. But if he does, like, he might be making.
He just
more
got his
Billy.
nickname back from us. That's all he got from Mike.
No, not
That's it.
Just Mike. Just Mike.
Yeah.
Just Mike was on.
I mean, he still needs a nose, but I digress.
How were you at Chaos's neck?
Because he wasn't.
Well, at the time, this was before the influx of defensive linemen. I think we only had 2 on the board.
I never understood it because he had so many people on the board, but offensive linemen,
End
we
of the
had
day,
nobody.
he was getting paid
We were
more than
just
quarter
missing
innings. He was
offensive
getting paid $1 million. He wasn't getting the kids to commit. To his defense, they weren't technically off the board. I mean, we did lose to a G5 school, but I digress. He's getting paid the money. I said if he gets the kids, he'll get his nickname back. But right now, we still don't have a nose. That's the bottom line.
No, you do. You do have a nose. You have Desmond Watson, who is like 2 noses. He is physically
and who
noses.
recruited him?
I don't know.
Not Chaos.
Not Chaos. Well,
Apparently, we don't believe in noses.
You said Chaos, though.
I had
bro.
I'm a man of my word.
Okay.
He did. We held to it. We held his feet to the fire.
But at the same time, though, I put it on the time on that Sunday when the kids committed.
How much does Rob Sale make? How much
$1
does
million.
Rob Sale make?
$1 million.
Okay.
I was about to ask. I was about to ask.
Thank you, Nick. I thought he made $1 million.
All right, we're getting off track, and
I thought he did.
Kearney just happened to be on campus back weeks. But once again, let's omit the facts. No,
that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I mean, let's not pay attention
to Florida.
To that left candidate.
Is he committed to Florida?
All right, we're getting off track. We're on D-line right now.
Hold on.
Wes,
Hold on, Mike. You can't say Kearney was on campus and Walker was not.
Are we going to talk D-line or O-line?
Oh, okay, but keep going.
I'll talk.
No, I got to. Go ahead. My bad. I just want to make sure
I'm trying to have a nice podcast here.
No, you can't have it.
All right, would you say right now, I don't care if it gets Kaylee, is the D-line class incomplete without a nose tackle?
No, because you're going to have a nose. Listen, first
Whoa,
off,
where?
Desmond Watson, he's on campus. He's not graduating early.
So is he going to play 60 snaps?
If listen, so Desmond Watson, I was surprised that he played 28 snaps.
I agree, but that's not. Did he play 28 good snaps or did he play 15 good snaps?
No,
he's at his best playing 20 snaps. Because I saw him when he got pushed back 4 yards into the end zone when Utah scored. But
that's a strong offensive lineman right there. That's what is, Mike.
It's also a first-year starter as well. But and he's going to play leverage. But once again,
he's on scholarship too.
I mean, he is on scholarship. But if he is either coached correctly or also smart, I'm tired. I'm just going to make a pile and plug that A gap, but he doesn't. He gives up and he lets get into linebackers way.
Wasn't
Well,
Jalen
I
Lee
think
and go ahead, Nick. I apologize. Go ahead.
I think you need Dez to get. Listen, he moves. I hear this. Everyone says this, and he does. He moves really well for
He does.
being a biscuit away from 460. But like, how well would you move at 380? Like,
No,
you're still a very big dude
I have
at 380.
380 at his ideal weight, but I'm not hating on Desi. He outperformed my thoughts on him. And hey, kudos to him for playing too many snaps, but still getting the job done. Utah played amazing. I'm just talking about this recruiting class. It is incomplete. I don't care who you get if you don't get a nose tackle. You can't rely on transfers. Jalen Lee's been playing his butt off, but I need a true zero. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't.
I got you. It just seems to me like a weird hill to die on to be like the defensive line class is not good enough. It just seems like a weird hill to die on.
Black and white, yes or no? You're okay with this D-line class without a nose? That's it.
Yeah. Yes.
It's complete?
Black and white. Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you
I'm
don't.
okay
You
with
don't.
it.
Hopefully, we're playing at 3-3-5.
Yeah.
This is Nick,
Or
this is my
penetrating
problem.
hopefully.
This is my problem with that. Even the guys you name Jalen Lee, you name Watson. Then I saw I might pronounce his name last. He was out there even in the game Saturday. So you have these guys, but Mike won't have that same injury for the offensive line if everybody leaves. And then then he'll say, well, we have these guys that hadn't played yet. That's the same thing we can say about the defensive line.
Talking about the upperclassmen?
What upperclassmen? So next year, what would Desmond Watson, Chris, and Jalen Lee be next year?
Do you want to talk about? Are we talking?
I'm just asking a simple question. That was a simple question. What would they be next year?
What's the line of scrimmage?
Okay.
What's the line of scrimmage? Are we on? You got to
go ahead, Hirsch.
I thought we moved on from D line.
Ask your question, Hirsch. Go ahead.
Are we on O line? I will happily go over that. And once again,
no, you don't have to. I proved what I wanted to say about it.
I think you
don't have the same
I'm
energy.
right, and I mean that's fine.
This is our weekly debates.
I can go left to right on O line. These
guys fight for their lines. They fight for their lines.
That's the same thing. Nick just gave you
because we have depth. We have depth at those positions. Not to mention the transfers that were brought in.
Okay,
you're
right.
I know.
Nick,
I'm glad
Nick,
you can agree with me on this.
Nick, obviously, we still got a lot of meat on the bone, though, out there. How do you think? Do you think? Let me rephrase this. Do you think we can close high enough to say be top 7 in this class?
Yeah, I think so because it's like a Cormani McClain. I think Florida is in a great spot for him. And how much does a 5-star like Cormani move you up? I would say, and I'm not our recruiting guy, but I would say Florida leads for Cormani. I don't know. My problem with like the offensive line classes, and I know this will rile Mike up, is like I don't think there's guys left out there to make up your offensive line class. So I think you're already at a position with offensive line where you're going to have to hit the portal. So to me, I think, there's some guys out there. But like top 7's probably, moving up 2 more spots, top 7's probably like the cap. I don't think it's a class that can get into 5 unless you're starting to talk about flipping guys, can you flip a Richard Young, which I don't think so, or flip a Baxter, some of those, those 5-star, 4-star kids, high 4 stars.
Yeah, that's why I was hitting on that. Obviously, I mean, we're squarely in the mix for Keeley.
Mm-hmm.
We're in great shape for Cormani. You could flip a kid like Walker.
That's a D-top?
Yeah. All right.
That was a joke. Go ahead.
We got Jordan Hall's out there, Walker's you got to finish these kids off.
Kearney, that blue chip kid from Arizona, offensive tackle. I know he's out there as well.
He's staying west is what I've heard. But like I was saying, there's still a lot of meat on the bone to try to move up to top 7. And I mean, I think everyone would pretty much generally classify that as a win this season for sure.
Hey Nick, and quick question. So let's just say Billy hits on Cormani and Keeley, and for whatever reason we get let's just say let's go crazy, a Baxter flip, right? Or something of that nature. The momentum just comes. What is your ceiling? What can this class max out at?
I mean, I think like 7. I think is what it maxes out at, because you still got guys that are gonna, and that's great. That's a great first class.
Absolutely.
Maybe a 6, and because it depends on, as games get played too, guys. Ratings fluctuate with how they're playing their senior season. So Florida's class might not get those guys and might still go up just based on how the guys that have committed play. But I think probably 6. Like I think Hirsch said, is 7 a good finish. I think like 6 or 7. I don't think there's enough out there without a bunch of flips happening to get into the top 5. But we're talking about your first recruiting class, and it's not even your first full recruiting class, because like the guys that are seniors here, like Cormani didn't have a relationship with Billy, but Cormani was never going to go to UL. I can't remember the player right now, but Dan Mullen got someone to sign at Florida, and I forget the player. The player told us, he was like, it was Emory Jones. Emory was Emory. Mississippi State was Emory's first offer, and he literally said, I told Dan I was never going to go to Mississippi State. And then he comes to Gainesville, and it's like, okay, well, I would go to that school now. So there's a whole different caliber of recruit that he's going after now, that have had relationships with Kirby Smart, with Jimbo, with Dabo for 4 years, and he's just now starting to talk to him.
That was something we hit on this pod from day one was, Corey Raymond was probably the only guy on this staff that had any communication with any of these kids that were that are in our commit list now. So, I mean, and the relationships that were damaged, I'll just say, by Dan and his staff, that was a lot of rebuilding that had to be done. A lot of goodwill had to be made up. A lot of bridges had to be built back. So I thought
bridges, when you neglect a bridge for so long, it might start to fall apart. So I don't know if he bombed the bridge, but by neglecting it, for sure there was
some of them he never went over.
There were no tire marks over that bridge to Lakeland, huh?
It wasn't time yet. It wasn't the season.
Hey, Nick. Given our depth, not only is upperclassmen on the scholarship breakdown that you. By the way, thank you for providing that scholarship breakdown on On3. Your message.
I'm so ready for like the COVID kids or the COVID years to be done, because I'm I'm trying to do the scholarship breakdown. I'm like, I don't know what classification this player is. Like, are they using their COVID year? Are they not? Are they? Is it still in their pocket? Can they use it? And I'm like,
no, you're fine. No, it's definitely a great breakdown. So, I'm seeing, behind the current line, behind the current starters, we definitely have some upperclassmen depth. And also the young bucks, that's with Austin Barber getting some play as well. Not to mention some of that JUCO guy they brought in, and Cameron Waiters as well. So, the depth, that Wes conveniently omits, that's obviously talented, and it's probably going to be ready to go. How much do you think we're going to bring in a large O-line class, or kind of just keep it somewhat limited to maybe 2 to 3 tackles and a couple interior O-linemen, and really go hard? That's next cycle.
I mean, if you look at it, so I would say it would depend on who leaves, and that's going to be tough, because like Ethan White could come back.
I see him coming back personally.
But if he doesn't, then you need somebody else. So like you've got guys you've got guys like Josh Braun, who really hasn't played a lot. So I think he comes back, or does he end up transferring? That's why I think coaches are getting paid as much as they are, to try to figure this stuff out. And I just don't know. So what do I have Florida at? 14, 17 offensive linemen. I think you want 20. So I think you're already behind the numbers. So I think you do need a bigger class, because
17,
because Torrance is gone, or 17. So you're still behind. You're still behind that 20 that I think you want. And then do guys like a Yusef Mergabil or a Jake Slaughter, who haven't played a ton, do they end up transferring to try to find playing time? And now you're losing, and now you're down to 12 quick. So I still think you need a big class, whether that's going and getting a guy like an Osiris Torrance, who, or a grad transfer that's only going to give you 1 year, to kind of bridge that over. Because I've always said offensive line is the hardest position to recruit, because it's just a projection, and there's so many I mean, was it Martez Ivy was Martez Ivy in no,
Five
David
star.
Sharp. I remember watching David Sharp, and he was a 5-star. I drove up to Jacksonville, watched him play, and I'm like, first off, he hasn't faced a defensive lineman within 70 pounds of him this year. So he's just pushing people. I go, and also they're running like a wing T offense. So I'm like, what, does he know how to pass block? He's not being asked to. What he's being asked to do is push these little kids around. He is. So it's just a projection. And he was a great player, great 5-star, but then it takes time to get him ready to play at this level. So I think offensive line's a position when you say, okay, well, we can get 4 in this class, and that's good. It's like, all right, well, those 4 might not be ready to play for 3 years. So, yeah, I think you need to be getting 5 offensive linemen every cycle.
Okay. Appreciate that.
Has anything like as far as recruiting, have you been surprised, or has this been like what you expected when Napier got hired as far as recruiting? Did you expect us to be like 10 to 12, or is this 9 to maybe get to 7 as your cap? Has that surprised you?
The thing for me, so like Dan Mullen came in, he's like, it means something when you walk in with this Gator logo on your chest. And then I thought he, in his mind, thought that like the logo on his shirt would talk when he was recruiting and like recruit for him. I think Billy Napier says that same thing, but doesn't rest on it, being like, hey, we're Florida, so you're going to come here, right? So I thought, okay, well, let's see what he does. I think he really enjoys recruiting, and I think he treats recruiting the same way he would treat the game Saturday against USF. It's like, hey, recruiting is a game, and we're trying to win. We're trying to win these battles. So I thought they would get it, and they would recruit better than the last staff. I think they're ahead of schedule, I guess, where I was. I thought, okay, if you top 15 this year, 12 would be great. I think breaking into the top 10, I didn't think they would be in the first cycle, which is where we have them. So I think maybe even, a little bit ahead of schedule of what I thought their first class would be.
Cool. Appreciate it.
Nick, let me ask you something. I want to go back to like what you were saying about David Sharp. And obviously you used to work for 247 as well. And maybe you can't elaborate into this as much as we would like. Do you feel like the current ratings and evaluation process is a real good process? I mean, and the reason I ask that is it always goes back right now to Arch and his not camping and not going to Elite 11 and things like that. We had a discussion in one of our first or second podcasts was, would it be a better thing? Like this was right after Cormani dropped a few spots because he had a bad day. Do you think it would be more effective for maybe some of these top 25, 50 kids not to camp at this point?
Maybe, but then you get kids who don't camp and then don't get rated because no one sees them.
Well, I mean, if like I'm saying like the kids that are already like top 50, like they're already ranked top 50. Like Arch was. Arch was 1 out of the box. Like, y'all have him as a 5-star plus.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't go to any camps. I mean, all you have to go on is game film, and obviously the questions about his competition are what they are. Right. I mean, we're not gonna deep dive that, but we all have our opinion on that.
Mm-hmm. By the way, folks, Nick does not do the ratings, so
absolutely
I don't.
It's just
he does not, but he's worked for companies that have. And I'm curious on his opinion on this. If you're Cormani McClain, is it? I mean, obviously the kid is a competitor, and he's going to go and he's going to camp. But if there's a chance that you lose your ranking and possibly your NIL value, is it a possibility for these kids to skip camps going forward if they're ranked so high?
It could be. And then what camps do you go to? I've had, when I worked for Rivals, I had a kid tell me, oh, Rivals has me ranked lower than the other 3 sites, so I'm not going to do an interview with you. And I was like, I have nothing to do with that ranking. And then would he go to a different camp, but not a rival sponsor camp? It is a tough spot for the guys that do the recruiting rankings, because it's like, okay, well, this is the first time I've had a chance to see Cormani McClain in person, and let me see. He's gonna. I know what he is on film, and I've watched this and I've seen that. And then maybe it's an overreaction to seeing him in person. And like you said, it's just a bad day. You have one bad day. But then in my mind, if I'm the guy that's making the rankings, well, this is the first time I had a chance to see him. Maybe the tape lies. Maybe he's not that fast as he looks in tape. Or maybe it was just bad competition. You start second guessing yourself. So I think it could lead to players not going because as we get into NIL and NIL starts shaping things, it's Florida's new building is nice, but like with that $65 million, we better spent, with the Gator Collective or with the Gator Guard to like pay kids. Like I don't know. So I think NIL is going to continue shaping and changing the way things are going. But that's something I'd never even thought of, Hirsch, is that, I went to a camp and slipped and somebody caught a touchdown on me. And then I dropped, this many points in my recruiting ranking, which then you could probably do some math that's over my head to equate to how many dollars did I lose in NIL from that. So
it's reasonable. It's no different than kids skipping bowl games or, like kids skipping the season a few years back. I mean, at the end of the day, these kids are going to they need to do in a lot of cases what's best for them and their families.
And we have to respect their decision.
Absolutely.
One kid in Texas skipped his high school season. Running back.
I mean, do we like it as fans? No, we don't. I mean, and are some of these kids just straight competitors? They want to go out there and be top dog? Obviously. And I can't, and if that means they slip in rankings, then obviously that was their decision to do that. And they have to live with that. But I think if you look at the long-term landscape of it, and NIL dollars are determined by, I know On3 has their chart as far as what the kids' NIL values are. Well, I mean, if you drop from 10 to 50 or whatever it has, I'm sure that goes down in some way, shape, or form. And it's just something to think about. I dread putting it out there because I don't want to start seeing it happening, but I think it's inevitable.
Well, you are the first one that I've heard of it. So when guys start sitting out, we're gonna trace it back somewhere. Hirsch,
we'll need to come on here.
The Florida fan base is gonna start blaming me like I'm Dan Thompson losing recruits to Miami. Yeah. Shout out to Dan. Go ahead, Mike.
Just a couple last questions in regards to this, on the staff. Wes already touched on it, but just one word. How would you describe not only Billy, but just the staff as a whole, like their demeanor, like towards recruiting, and especially based on like what you've seen previously, the previous three staffs?
One word, I would say enthusiastic.
Okay.
Which I would not have said about the last staff. It was funny. So I ran into somebody who worked for McElwain, and this might be a hot topic or hot take, but they had recruiting finally figured out with McElwain and his staff before Jim decided to make up some death threats. Like Jamar Chase was coming to Gainesville. Matt Corral was coming to Gainesville. Jamar Chase. Like that last class was
that famous pool jumping incident.
That last class is going to be really good. And then Jim McElwain just, torpedoed the whole thing. So, but this staff enjoys recruiting, and I don't know. I don't want to name names. I don't know that everyone is as good as Billy is, and I think Billy will get more involved. And as a head coach, you don't have to be the best recruiter on your team, but you need to be when you're a tight end coach and you call your head coach, like, hey, I need you to come and meet with this guy. We got to close the door. You have to be able to walk in and sign the deal. Yeah, and sign the deal. You don't need to be the one that talks to, as the head coach, that talks to every recruit the most. But when you're position coach or when somebody says, hey, we need you to come and seal the deal, you need to be able to do that as a head coach. And I don't know that everyone on staff is like the same level as recruiters.
Bateman got us.
I don't know that everyone on staff is the same level. There's Mike's over there like, Nick, blink after the name of the weak recruiter. And I'm just
we have Mike created a hashtag from the very first episode, so we got an idea of what you meant.
Yeah. But and listen, they don't need me. I can't protect them. The signing classes will reveal who those coaches are and who they are.
And this is what I've noticed throughout. What are your thoughts on it? Billy he's very methodical. He's very calculated. So it seems like personality is like that perfect one to be able to drown out the us as Gator Nation. I mean, we run off coaches. I mean, you have to have a certain personality for a quarterback and head coach to be in Gainesville. So the pressure is, heart attacks, etc. It's death threats, so on and so forth. Not, Jeff Driscoll couldn't hack it based on. I mean, he's a solid quarterback. He's in the league, got like 3-4 years. So, would you say Billy is built to withstand that and drown out the noise?
Yeah, it's early for me to say that. I think my early opinion would be, yeah, he is. He's just a really like devout Christian. I think he puts his family and his relationship with God first before anything else. But he still is a tireless worker. And it's funny, we joke with him all the time. It's like, when was the last time you saw your wife? Especially when they were first starting, and he was having to fly to do recruiting and to try to fill out a coaching staff. We're like, when was the last time you saw your wife? He was like, well, we FaceTimed on the plane yesterday. And I was like, okay, this guy is not afraid to work. So I think that Florida fans will, if they haven't seen that, will see it. And listen, you can appreciate that. One of the most maddening things about Dan Mullen was just like, you spent more time on the phone with your travel agent than you did with a 5-star quarterback or a 5-star running back. And that was frustrating. So I think for me, Billy's built to work. Like, he's just going to be a hard worker no matter what. And I honestly think he won't see most of the stuff. Like, when people are angry, I honestly think he won't even see that stuff. And will ignore it if he does.
And last thing, besides Cormani, who's the key player Billy needs to get into class, and why? Besides
Cormani, I would say Cormani, and that I'll give me time to think while I say this. I would say Cormani, because Cormani was ready to commit to Dan Mullen's staff. Like, he was ready to pull the trigger last year. So to me, it's like that would be like a condemnation of what you're doing. If you had a guy who was ready to commit to the last staff, who wants to be a Gator from just down the road, his coach right now, his position coach right now, was an All-American at your school. So to me, Cormani's the one you have to land, because there's all these other things. He wanted to be a Gator, almost pulled the trigger, still wants to be a Gator. Your team is better, or at least is you can say is better.
And you have the best cornerback coach in the country on your squad. So,
so I'm not sure who I think I would say is the one outside of him. I would have liked to have gotten, I would have liked to have hit on a quarterback earlier. I forget his name. He went to Clemson, Nick something.
Yeah, I know you're talking about
that's
Alabama,
one.
at Alabama or Texas.
I think he went.
I think he's talking about Viz. I can't say his name.
Vizcaino?
Yeah, Vizini.
Is his girlfriend over there or something?
She might be, but listen, like, there's a transfer portal for regular students too.
It's happened before.
We're equal opportunity school.
Oh man. Well, let's move on to talking about a few team things. Obviously there's a lot going on right now. Wes, what you want to ask Nick about the team?
There was a lot of reactions to Saturday's loss. We had our raw reactions. We let it all out. Go listen to that podcast. It's very, very good. But did that deter your outlook on the season? Like, maybe you had a projection 8-4, 9-3, 10-2, whatever that was before the season started. Did Saturday's loss, or maybe did week one, because I didn't talk to you week one, did week one's win against Utah change, or did Kentucky bring that back down to, how do you feel about those two games, and did they change anything for you as far as looking towards the season?
I thought Florida was 1-1 all off season. I just had them flipped. I had the games completely wrong. So after the week one, all off season I said Florida's 7-4 or 7-5, 8-4, and then they beat Utah, and I'm like, man, you're gonna look stupid. Like, this team's gonna go 10-2, and you're gonna look like an idiot because you've been saying 5 losses all off season. So then they lose to Kentucky, and I'm like, okay, this is this is what I think Florida is. And I think they're going to have growing pains. And I think they're going to struggle. I said all offseason, I thought, oh, they're going to call 60-40 run to pass because they have a good offensive line. They have a really good running back room. And you've got a quarterback who's 6'4", 240, who can run 20 miles an hour. And then I thought last week's defense looked a lot like Georgia's. There was a spy, at least one spy on Anthony Richardson the entire game. That one switched, so he might identify who that is pre-snap. And then as the play starts developing, it's not there anymore. I think Mark Stoops went and looked to see what Kirby and Georgia did. And that defense to me looked a lot like the defense last year in Jacksonville. So there's blueprints out there. I think Florida's defense is going to struggle to cover tight ends, slants, crosses. That's a thing. Like, that's not new. I was saying that in the spring. I'm like, and it shouldn't surprise anyone. Like, their linebackers that are there have been here 5 years. They haven't changed. Six. Ventrell Miller might break a record if you include interim coaches. I think he's on his 6th head coach. If you include interim coaches, or 5th head coach.
Wow.
So that might be a trivia question at some point. But then Florida on the defensive line, like, Dan Mullen didn't leave the cupboard bare, but you don't have enough plates for like 10 people to come over for dinner. So you're going to start wearing down as the game goes on. Gervon Dexter's played over 120 snaps in 2 weeks. You're just asking a lot of these guys. So Florida's going to wear down, and you're going to be able to run the ball on them, and the tight ends are going to be able to do this. And you need Anthony Richardson to be Anthony Richardson. I think a lot of what happened with him last week was, okay, here's Will Levis. This is a guy who I'm being compared to in terms of draft, not in terms of skill set, but in terms of draft. There's 15 NFL teams here. I'm going to show them that I can do what he does, because there's nothing he can do to show them that he can do what I do. So I'm going to show them I can be a better passer than him. I'm going to beat him at his own game. And then I think as the game goes on, he starts losing confidence, and he just wasn't able to shake that out of his head, and things start to snowball on him. So nothing that happened to me last week changed my perspective on Florida's team. I still think they're 7 wins, 8 wins. And Anthony Richardson is going to bounce back. Like, you just need to let him be Anthony Richardson. 35-6 is not the pass to run ratio that Anthony Richardson should have at the University of Florida.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. I mean, you've obviously been around the team a little bit. How do you think these guys bounce back, not just this week, but going to Knoxville in 2 weeks? How do you think this team responds?
And I wrote that after the game. I'm like, I'm not worried about you bouncing back against USF. Like, if you lose to USF, people are going to put a for sale sign up in front of Billy's house. Like, but I'm not concerned about, like, I won't get caught in the moment. I won't be a prisoner of the moment if they beat USF 60-0 and they look great. It's like, cool. You should beat USF like that. I'm worried, or I guess interested, concerned. What do you look like on your first road trip? At a place where everyone will probably pick Tennessee to beat you. Hendon Hooker looks great. The Vols can score, and the place will be sold out. They'll probably do that, creamsicle stripe around the stadium again.
Yeah, they're doing the checkerboard end zones.
Okay. So that to me will be interesting. How do you respond on the road? Because you have a whole new set. You can practice. And Billy Napier and his staff did practice what a game day would be like during spring football. They took the team to the hotel and bust them and did all these things. Florida's spending money, but they're not going to like take a charter up on Wednesday of game week just so you can do like a dry run through and see Knoxville. So there's a lot of things that come with taking a team on the road for the first time, and that's going to be a good team. So that's the game I want to see you respond. You can beat USF 100-0, and it's not going to change my opinion of what this team is. You got to beat the Kentuckys, you got to beat Georgia and the teams in the SEC. You're not moving up any rankings for beating USF on Saturday.
No, that's more of a.
This is a get right game. This is what the doctor wrote this down.
a scheduled joint practice, if you will, kind of, stay healthy.
The swamp is the swamp is a CVS this week. So you got a prescription from the doctor and you're going to CVS and you're going to get your medicine this week and you're going to feel better before you head up to Knoxville.
But Nick, I talked about that. I'm gonna let you ask your question. I'm not asking a question, but I did talk about that. Like, I wish Anthony Richardson had these type of games, like how the season normally goes. Like, we had week 1 and 2 where you could play those type of teams, but just thrust them into 2 ranked teams with 3 out of 4 ranked teams in the beginning of the season is going to be hard on any quarterback.
He's made 3 starts, all of them against top 20 teams.
Crazy.
And last year, that was probably the best defense ever assembled in college football. That was just Dan Mullen being like, all right, I hear you guys, and I'm going to show you. It's like, no, Dan, not against defense. That first start, yes, start him, but not against this team. And Dan was like, no, I'll show you why I'm the smart one, why I'm in this job. Here you go. Play against Georgia, the hacker.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that game up, and I'll just ask a little bit blunt. So is AR, is he mentally weak? And is that fair to ask that question based on it's like a front runner? Because I mean, the way I'm looking at it, he had 2 games. Obviously, that Georgia game, I understand it's a historically great defense. However, when things went bad, it went real bad. Instead of like, all right, it's going to be ups and downs, which I understand if you have 3 picks, but it just straight up collapsed. That's the same thing that happened at the Kentucky game. At no point, I mean, I literally lost hope midway through the second quarter. Like, I wanted to see the walk on in the third. And I hate to say that, but I had no hope.
Man, you need to go to CVS and get your medication too, Mike.
No, I mean,
you were patching Anthony Richardson last Saturday.
100%, at least for a quarter, at least for a drive. You're gonna tell me you're at the game, that final drive. Did you have any? I wouldn't have bet $1. We would have done anything. I'll take the unknown.
No, it's known.
I'll take the unknown of the guy who's never passed the ball than the guy who cannot complete a pass because he had the yips.
You would have benched the walk on too.
But guess what? I would have known he couldn't have got it done. Right now we didn't, and that's why I just want to ask that question. Is he just a front runner? Like, when things go well, like the LSU game, that FSU game, he's throwing them balls, boom, boom, boom. We're good.
No, I think after talking to people, everything that Billy Napier has said is kind of right about him, and he hasn't learned. He's never really had to face adversity on the football field before, and I think there's a bunch of other things going on. Anthony Richardson, despite you wanting to put the walk on in, that Florida without Anthony Richardson is a 5-win football team.
If that.
I'm just at
5 wins. 5. No.
I'm not
Anthony, but Anthony knows this.
I understand that.
He knows I can't get right.
A reliever.
I'm explaining. There's no reliever. I'm explaining. So in his mind, I can't get hurt. The first time he drops back, someone rolls on his ankle. That doesn't feel good. So now that's in your mind. I can't get hurt. I almost got hurt on the first play. If I get hurt in this game, even our backup, who I am head and shoulders better than, he's not ready. And Mike's cousin, the walk-on, is coming in to try to lead us back. So in his mind, so is he mentally weak? I don't know, but in his mind, he's letting all of these other things, these outside things creep into his mind when you can't. So he's thinking about, I can't get hurt, so let's throw the ball a little bit more. I think he was thinking, I'm going to throw the ball better than Will Levis. I'm going to show these NFL scouts that I can do what he can do on top of being able to run the ball. I think then he's thinking, okay, well, I need to force this, and then that doesn't work. And I think he's letting one bad pass turn into 2 when you have to have a baseball pitcher mentality, like a closer. And hey, if I come into a 2-run game and the first batter hits a home run, a solo home run, cool, we're still winning. So let me execute my next pitch. And I think he just let a bunch of stuff that wasn't the game plan enter his head. And then stuff that happened in the game, I think he let kind of snowball. So was he mentally weak in that moment? Yes. Is he mentally weak? I'm not anywhere close to saying blanketly Anthony Richardson is mentally weak. I think he had a bad game and he let it get to him, and that just led things to snowball.
I don't think play calling assisted him on that matter at all.
I don't think the play calling. I was unimpressed.
Yeah, if we're going to leave it at this, I mean, he obviously wasn't on his A game. I think you go to like 70-30, 65-35, and, run past, help him out a little bit. And that definitely wasn't the case.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of running the football, my final question for you, Nick, is would Travis Etienne be Dameon Pierce 2.0?
Oh, no. Oh, no. I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
Catch that, Mike. I mean, like, he should be playing and not playing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope not. I really hope he's not DP 2.0. I think he looks really good. Jeff Scott today, USF's head coach, said he looks a lot like Travis did, a lot like his older brother did at Clemson, which national champion, ACC player of the year. That's a great comparison. I hope not. I'm a big Naquan Wright fan. I do think he has looked the least explosive and the least successful of the three running backs. So I get why people want to see more Montrell, and I get why people want to see more Trevor, but I don't think so. I think you're going to continue seeing, if you look at their carry, like I think Naquan leads and then Montrell and then Etienne. I think that's what you're just going to get. You're going to continue getting those three. You'll get 4 this week. I think you'll see Lorenzo Lingard play, especially later on in the game. But no, I hope we're not seeing, and I don't think we'll get to a scenario where they're both, locked in some prison somewhere under the stadium and you never see him touch the ball.
I personally think maybe it's because when you're running back, people just think you just have to run the ball. And to
there's
me,
way more.
It may be more pass protection. And Mike thing is about scheme. Mike thing is maybe that he's not a scheme fit for that zone blocking. I'm thinking that Kyle Shanahan runs very well. So but to me, I saw Naquan against Utah, and he blew 2 blocks on pass protection. So I don't know if it's that or what. So what do you think about Naquan and why he's not getting off? Why he's not seeming to be able to hit those cutbacks? To me, I think he's moving a little too fast. He's not letting the lanes open up when you have to be a patient running back in that type of scheme. So can you speak to that, Annie?
Yeah, he's always been, and I've always thought he has been that though, Wes. I always thought he had been patient in the past and even written and been like, yeah, he has really good vision and he'll wait for something to open and maybe he's just pressing early on, because the way that these reps shake out, it almost kind of looks like last year. It's like, hey, you got the first drive, you get the second drive, you get the third, and then we bring the rotation back. Maybe you're pressing as an older player now. He's a redshirt sophomore, but I think this is his 4th year on campus. So maybe you're pressing. It's like, hey, I'm only going to get the ball 12 times this game. I have to do something with these 12. Or I'm only going to get 4 drives this game. I have to end 2 of them in a touchdown. He hasn't forgotten how to play football. I don't think I've seen some people being like, oh, he doesn't run the same because of his injuries. I think he looks the same to me. I do think part of the scheme thing is Trevor Etienne looks great with the ball in his hands, but he's only been on campus since July. So there are some schemes and things that he'll be asked to do that are new to him, that aren't new to Naquan Wright, who's been asked to do this for a while. And even Montrell Johnson, like, he doesn't look young unless you see him without his helmet on. Then he doesn't even have to think about a razor. I don't think there's been a single hair on his face his entire life. He looks young then, but there's also stuff where we all thought, hey, he's going to come in right away and he's going to take the job because he played in it last year. Oh, well, he was 18 last year. He's only 19 this year. So he's still young as well. So I think Naquan is in terms of being the veteran, that's not just saying it. Like, he's been in this for 4 years. He understands that there are other responsibilities just in someone putting the ball in your chest and making somebody miss. But I do think he has been outperformed by the 2 younger guys.
Nick, let me ask you this real quick, because I've been part of several conversations over the last 48 hours. Why can't Lorenzo Lingard see the field?
I don't know. And here's the thing. So, like, no one has, and I've told my friends this, who are Michigan fans. They're like, oh, so-and-so is getting great spring reviews. I'm like, you're not going to read bad stories about players in the spring. Like, nobody's having a bad spring. I don't know why he can't, because every time we've seen him, he looks good. The staff and I get why the staff was high on him, because the guy is a workout warrior. So the staff comes in, gives everyone a clean slate, and then they see Lorenzo working out with Mark Hockey, and they're like, this kid is going to be special. And then once you start handing the ball off, I don't think he's very good in the other areas without, holding on to the football. I don't think he's very good in pass protection. I think he's okay catching the ball, but he's probably your third or fourth best receiver as a running back. So I think that's what it is that there's more to just, more to running back than just running the ball. If you're only handing him the ball, he's big, he's physical, he's fast, he'll make people miss. But then, when do you have him on the field? Only when you're handing the ball off to him, and then you become predictable with that. You can't have him on the field. I think his skill set keeps him out of certain packages. And then when his skill set gets you you're in a situation where his skill set could be, all right, well, the other guys have also earned it, and they're going to get the carries before him.
Can he cover tight ends?
I don't think so.
People want to know.
Well, I think we're going to find out, because I don't think that Ventrell Miller will be available this week.
Okay.
And I don't know if he'll be available next week. So we're going to find out if Scooby and if Shamar can cover tight ends, because I think you're going to see a lot of those two playing next to Amari Burney this week.
Do you have a Tarquin update? Or are we waiting on the press conference?
We're waiting on the press conference tomorrow for Tarquin.
Thank you.
Real quick before we get you out of here, 3-2 games, obviously. Who's been the best player on the team not named Jeremy Crawshaw?
You caught me. I was gonna go Crawshaw. That's my guy.
Well, that's why he's the host.
Yeah.
Do both sides of the ball.
Give us one offense, one defense, just so the people hear an opinion.
Okay. I think my player on defense, I'm going to give it to, I thought he played, it's between Gervon Dexter and Brenton Cox for me. And I still think Brenton Cox, I'll go with Dexter first, just because of the sheer amount that he's played. And I don't think it's dipped a little bit. Like, people asked me after week 1, they're like, hey, he's getting blown off the ball in the fourth quarter. I'm like, yeah, it's his 60th snap.
They're going to get him hurt.
Doubled and tripled the whole game.
They're going to if they don't find snaps to take away from them, they're going to get him hurt.
There's who are you going to give him to?
Sap, boom, move him inside.
Sap,
I don't know.
Sap. There's so little depth on the defensive line.
I'm aware.
Tyreek Sapp has lined up at nose. Tyreek Sapp played
two
snaps against Utah at nose. He weighs 260 pounds.
Honest question. Do you think? Obviously, you're not going to get all SEC production out of him unless we're getting off the field. And I know not every team's like Utah, but he's got to make it. If it's getting rolled up on, I don't hope, but you're playing D-line, you should not have that many snaps.
No, but he is.
That's
why I give it to him. That's why I give it to him. Brenton Cox, shout out to him, though. He literally threw a grown man into a quarterback. He doesn't get a sack for it. Trey Dean, I think, and somebody else got half sacks each. And I'm like, no, give that to the guy who
it was Dexter. Dexter got the half a sack. Yeah.
I'm like, give the sack to the guy who picked up a grown man and threw him into the quarterback. That's who earned the sack. So Brenton Cox is playing better. On offense, it's Anthony Richardson, and that's Anthony Richardson it doesn't matter that he had a bad week 2. Anthony Richardson is going to give Florida a chance to win every time he's on the field on Saturday. And Anthony Richardson, the team will be as good as he is. And he was really bad against Kentucky, so they lost. He was really good against Utah, and they win. This team is going to ride and go up and down with Anthony Richardson for the entire season.
It is what it is. People are just going to have to accept it one way or another. There's going to be growing pains. Everybody should realize that. If they don't, they just haven't watched a whole lot of football. Anytime you have a scheme fit, a coaching change, a quarterback that had that had one career start. It's just
which was a setup. That was a setup.
And it was.
He didn't even get all the reps that week, right? They split reps.
No, that whole thing.
It's just
that
it's a recipe for it's a recipe for bad things for games like Saturday to happen. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, we know Coach took responsibility. We know he took ownership of it. but we all just want to see something done about it. I mean, we want to see different play calling. We want to see, some changes, obviously, but we'll know real fast. We'll know real quick, what he can and can't do with the roster he has.
I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Mike, what is the walk-on quarterback that you want to play? What's his name?
It's a Kinley or something.
Okay.
It's a Kinley.
Okay.
Starts with a K. I did say, hey, to my credit, I do
Mike, to my credit.
No, hold on. I did message this to Wes. I think it was in our group chat. I saw a picture of him. I put QB1. So okay. I was joking, obviously. No, it was just honestly, even if you bring him out, if you just bring him out for a drive.
That was a question we posed. That was a question.
Bring him out for a drive. He needed to be reset because his head wasn't there. If you want to put him back after a drive and just concede one, like we did concede a drive because we had 2 timeouts and punted the ball. So that just shows you have no confidence. So I mean, I'm just looking for consistency, and I'm livid at the lack of second half adjustments. We're not running the ball. I mean, it is what it is. But like I said, you can cater a drive to very safe throws. Just running the ball, and they can't. Will Levis is not good at football, so they're not going to score a touchdown. So I mean, I'll continue to say this, and I'm not, he eats mayonnaise out of, in his coffee, so I'm not shocked at all. But it's just, it's not bad to take him out and put him back in. If that, and people are like, oh, it's confidence. If that rocks your confidence, I don't want you to play quarterback.
You want the other guy. What's his name?
Let's go, Kenley. I like that. Sounds about right. Hey, say it with your chest out. But the bottom line, everyone knows the spotlight is on. Okay, so if you can't handle a little benching to get, not even a bench, but getting taken out, it happens to everybody. You're not going to make it. So at least we know now.
Gator fans live through Spurrier
and once again,
quarterback like he changed underwear. So
absolutely. So I mean, and that's why I thought the question has to be raised. I'll be transparent. Is he mentally weak? I hope I'm wrong, but you can't just say blind faith like Wes has.
He'll prove it one way or another. We're going to prove it going forward. We're going to see what he's made of, and
you have blind faith in the backup quarterback that nobody doesn't know his name.
Kyle, first of all, I'm gonna put some respect on Kyle Ingles' name because
first
he
of all,
is a Thomas Aquinas Raider.
If you take Kyle and Ingles, that's the combination. Is he an STA alum?
STA alum. Go.
Oh, that's not fair. He's an STA alum. Listen, I've been to games. Come on, I support the team.
Yeah.
So, listen, like I said,
if you were the coach, you wouldn't even have known what to call the guy to go into the game.
Get your helmet. 13, grab your helmet.
There. I'd be like Bobby Bradley in his final days.
Like
22.
No, like any given Sunday, with Al Pacino and Jamie Foxx. Come here, son, and talk to him and get him in the game. Yeah. That's what you're gonna be like. What's his name? You don't even know the guy's name, man. That's how you look at.
I know I need a
all
reset.
All that matters is the playbook.
Yeah.
True. I'll run
Nick, man, we really appreciate you coming on, man, and just chatting it up with us and all the information you brought to the table, man. It was great having you on.
I appreciate it, guys. It was a lot of fun.
All right, man. We'll
appreciate you.
Hopefully,
Nick,
we'll have you back soon, and we'll have some better stuff to talk about.
This was big for me, man. Appreciate you, man.
Why did I know Nick was going to come at me with that question?
Bro, man, your eyes were moving. I thought you were looking it up, so I was trying to get it in quick.
Hey, man, I'll say with confidence, man.
Kind of like I did with the punter.
Yeah, that was a setup, Hirsch. That was a setup. You know who my MVP is every year.
I know. I had to make you think. Nick, appreciate you so much, man. We'll have you back soon.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Y'all go make sure y'all check out Nick on 3 and Stadium Gale every week. We'll talk to you soon, brother.
You should have said, who's your favorite player born in the continental United States?
Oh, my Lord. All right, guys. Well, now we're just gonna get on with the regular show and do it like we do every week. We got a game coming up to talk about and a few recruiting notes. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. Wes is gonna do it like he does every week and give us the kind of a Friday night breakdown of who did what. Wes.
Yeah, appreciate it, Hirsch. Yeah, guys, we have this is Friday Night Lights. Our committed guys and some guys that are not committed at this time that are targets. We have Eugene Wilson first. He had a 70-yard catch and run in the first half of his game. He also in the second half he had another 55-yard TD catch. And he played some defensive back as well in the game. Coach Chaos was out there seeing him play. Also, another Gator target, Dejon Johnson, was on the other side against Eugene. So Chaos got to go and watch both of those guys play. There was a rumor circling around that somebody said that Eugene Wilson got injured during the game.
There's no. I'm sorry, Wes. I didn't mean to cut you off on that. We've searched on that all day, guys, and there is no verification on what's going on.
I thought I saw an X-ray somewhere.
Nah, that was
something else.
I think that would. I don't think that was real. That's why I said everything I tried to find. When I think
we'll go ahead and assume at this point that Eugene is fine until we hear any different. And if we hear different, we'll let you know.
Yeah. Going on, our linebacker commit, Jaden Robinson. He had a 85-yard scoop and score in his game. Treon Webb continues to score touchdowns every week. He got his 6th touchdown of the year. Aiden Mizell, one of our key guys that we kind of monitoring to see how far he can shoot up the rankings. He's kind of still out right now with that injury. So hopefully he can be back this Friday. If so, I'll update that to let you guys know how he's doing. He's one of our highly rated guys that we think can jump up. So I will be tracking him. As far as some targets go, Caden McDonald, he had a defensive lineman's dream. He was able to go into backfield on the goal line and get a score in his high school game. And Cedric Baxter had probably the highlight of Friday night across the country. If you haven't seen that, you need to go look that up. Look that hit up on YouTube. I don't know where it might be at. YouTube, Twitter, wherever you get your information from. I think I put it on our page. Matter of fact, our Facebook page. Check our Facebook page out, Respect Our Decision. I don't know why I'm plugging other places. Check us out on Respect Our Decision Facebook, and it'd be there. I put it up there on Friday night when I saw it. Yeah, man, I don't know what I was thinking about. My bad, Mike. But yeah,
also, it's also on our Friday night thread on Twitter.
Yeah, guys, so it's there as well.
Under the Lights.
Yeah, guys, make sure every Friday night we try to run a thread called Under the Lights, where we try to string all the information that we find about our commits and high potential targets under one thread, so y'all can find that and make sure y'all follow. Y'all can keep up with this, if you're interested in that kind of thing. So make sure you're following our Twitter at RespectDCN, and every Friday night that thread will start somewhere around 7:30, 8 o'clock. We run that all night long and add to it. So y'all just make sure y'all are following for that if you want to see highlights and information about our commitments.
Yep. But that's
it.
Like I said,
yep.
My bad.
Go ahead, Wes.
I was saying that was it as far as the recruiting updates from Friday night. You can take it away.
Yeah, we're just going to hit on a few more recruiting updates as far as guys we're still chasing out there and the visits that we had this last weekend. One big name that just continues to circulate, John Walker, defensive tackle currently committed to UCF. Visited for the 2nd straight weekend, continues to have really, really good things to say about UF and the staff and how they're recruiting him. Of note today, a report came out from Chad Simmons on On3 that Miami keeps trying to get back into the game with him as well, but he said, no, thank you, not interested. He's only focused on UCF and Florida, and that's the only 2. And then went ahead to say that he might be taking another visit to Florida this weekend for USF. I think even since that article, that visit's been confirmed. So if the man makes it 3 weekends in a row, guys, we're squarely in the game. You can't, the old saying is follow the visits. And if he keeps visiting your school, then you're you're in really good shape.
Unless it's Tim Smith.
What's that?
Unless it's Tim Smith.
Yes, unless it's Tim Smith, which friend of the show, Steven Rodriguez, tried to troll today saying that John Walker was going to be Tim Smith 2.0. Shout out to you, Steven.
Yeah, he's truly the Antichrist.
He is. Keon Keeley, of course, everyone knows, visited this last weekend. 5-star recruit out of Tampa, 5-star defensive lineman. Probably 1B left on the board behind Cormani McClain, obviously, as far as targets would go. Keon doesn't do a whole lot of interviews, doesn't say a whole lot, doesn't do social media, things like that. He's a very quiet kid. But sources I talked to today, some guys that do things behind the scenes, off the record, kind of said, Bama doesn't have the lead everyone thinks they have. That we are squarely in the mix on this. Things were presented to Keon on his visit that let him know that we, how interested we were. So if you just think this is another case of Bama just gonna burn us at the end, right now we're squarely in the mix. So guys, just let's watch and see what happens. He's still got that official visit to take and might make another visit besides that. Everybody's favorite 2024 quarterback, DJ Lagway, of course, was in the swamp this weekend and was just blown away by the atmosphere, blown away by the way that the fan reaction that he got and the signs that were put up around campus for him. To say that he felt the love was very, very understated. The same source I talked to about Keon was very quick to say that this thing with DJ Lagway is in really good shape. It's one of those things that could be done sooner than later. Let's keep our fingers crossed on that one and hope that DJ sees the need that we have for him at quarterback and we can get him committed to keep the ball rolling on the 2024 class. Big-time defensive lineman Jordan Hall was also in the swamp for the game against Kentucky. And Jordan Hall is also one you haven't heard a whole lot about, out there. He's down to us and probably UGA. A lot of people think UGA is the favorite here, but he was very impressed. He was very impressed with the way that Billy and the Army have changed the culture around the program. He was impressed that despite there being so many people around, in the offices and everything, that they all knew his name. Everybody knew his name, said hello to him, and Jordan is a real big people person, and that was very impressive to him. So the culture that Billy's creating is hitting these kids on all fronts. And per Chad Simmons on 3 again, he might take another visit this weekend as well. So that's something to look out for. And a quick note that just came on the timeline that I'm just kind of rolling out here, don't have any other information on. Bryce Thornton visited this last weekend and announced tonight he will be committing on October 13th. So we'll see where that goes. As far as I haven't heard a whole lot about his visit and what he thought. I'm sure he enjoyed it, but we'll get some more information on that going forward and we'll see what happens. I've seen a lot of people talking over the last few days thinking that, this loss would be a detriment to recruiting. And I just want to reiterate, guys, it's year one. Losses aren't as big a factor in year one as you may think they are. Improvement and showing the kids that, like we said about culture change and things like that, matter as much as anything. These kids want to feel like they're wanted by the staff. They want to hear how they're going to be used by the staff. They like to see that we have so many young kids on the field and they're going to have opportunities when they hit campus, not just being told they're going to get an opportunity, but prove it. And you see kids like Kamari and Shamar James and Scooby, and all these young guys on the field. Etienne does nothing but show that if you come here and work hard, you can be on the field year one. Guys, what are your thoughts on that as far as wins and losses in year one?
Mike, I know you got some thoughts. Yeah, no, we kind of. And I've had this conversation probably. My buddy called me a million times. He still doesn't agree with me, but either way, it's a bum class. You don't have to win in your bum class. Look, it's throughout this. I mean, obviously, recruiting evolves, but it's not your kids. All you have to do is look competent and don't be Willie Taggart. It's that simple. If you just have a competent program, I don't care if you win 5 games. They're not your kids. That's all the pitch you need. So if you do what Hirsch said, you show you're committed. You're playing the right players, and I mean, let's not mention our facilities now. I mean, it's like, let's be realistic. Even let's just say we only win 6-7 games. If you had a competent product, you lose tough games like we did with Kentucky. It's still a competent product. We faced 3 out of 4 top 20 teams. Like, that's the hardest schedule in the country so far. So I mean, kids realize that they're not dumb. So it's just, once again, it's all about perspective, and it's a bump class. So use historical data, and it's don't look like it's irrelevant.
I know it's been said a lot the last 48 hours, but once again, you just got to go back to it. Kirby Smart came in probably with a more talented roster at Georgia, than Billy walked into, and lost to Vanderbilt in his first year, and lost 5 games. I mean, it happens. Nick Saban walked into Alabama, lost to Louisiana Monroe in his first year. Losses happen in your first year, guys. I mean, they just do. It doesn't slow. It doesn't change who you are, who these recruiters are as recruiters. Recruiters recruit, and that will be shown. That product will be shown. Wes, you got anything you want to add to this?
You're muted. And I think they had like a top 2-3 class with like Julio Jones that next cycle, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I just echo what you guys just said about Saban and Kirby. Their first years, I think they both, if I'm not mistaken, might have been 7-5, some of them in that range. It won't affect the class, like Mike said. If you put a competent team on the field, and the recruit see that you know what you're doing. And a lot of these guys are scheme fixed, like we were just talking about with Nick. You got a lot of wet puzzle pieces that you can't even put in there right to complete your puzzle. I mean, that just is so. And the recruits are not stupid. They know what's going on. They know some of these guys aren't a lot of these guys aren't your guys. So that's why I don't agree with that 3-year rule, because the 3-year rule push your guys at almost like sophomores and juniors. You still have the other guys as your upperclassmen, and that's how you win with upperclassmen. You don't usually win with. You might have one special freshman or sophomore, C. Stingley and Jamar Chase with LSU a couple years ago, but a lot of your guys, or most of your guys, are going to be upperclassmen. So that's how I feel about that. Hopefully, we can continue to trend in the right way, as things have said. Like Hershey, as you went over your updates, everything continues to seems like is going in the right direction. So I still have faith in that. Not blind faith.
I mean, so moving on, guys.
And the defense is playing.
Go ahead. Yeah. So. And keep in mind, guys, that a lot of these kids that are coming talked at least maybe once or twice with the previous staff. So they see the improvement in what was here before versus what's here now. So that alone is encouraging about it. Yes, I mean, that alone is probably encouraging to them. They like, you hear these kids talking about the culture change, and that's what they're seeing just in the way that their families are treated and they're treated when they arrive on campus versus before, when they probably didn't even get more than a handshake, if that. So moving on, guys, as of this recording, we don't have much of a visitor list lined out for next weekend. We know, like we said, John Walker might be in attendance, probably going to be. Jordan Hall might be back. And I would assume that the rest of the committed kids like Webb and the gang will be back on campus, because these kids are bought in and they just love to be part of this atmosphere. So make sure to follow us on Twitter. Like I said before, we'll, as kids announce they're going to be in town, we try to keep you updated on who's coming and who's not. and what kind of rumors are out there. We're always going to keep that free flowing as we hear it. We try to put it out there for y'all. So that being said, guys, we're going to move on to a little football. It's football week. It's USF week. As you know, the new rankings are out, and Florida fell to 18th in the rankings. Not terrible.
I'll take it, and I think
probably where we should have been before the game.
Here's a quick question. Nope. A blind question. If you were to go before the season, hey, after week 2, you're 18 in the country, would you take it? I would.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely, because
I would.
I think we all expected to lose one game within that first 2. Wes doesn't, because Wes expects 12. Wes expects 12 and under.
I mean, yeah.
Wes thinks we should have been ranked number 8 in the country.
Wes would pick the band over the LSU team.
I mean, but if y'all did, as bad as AR played, we really kind of lost. We lost by 10, but I mean that's neither here nor there. As bad as he played,
we said before the season.
Yeah, we're talking about, would you have taken it going, before we saw the Utah game? Would you have taken being ranked 18th, 1-1 right now?
But that's not a question for me anyway. I felt like we should have been
ranked.
It's
a very simple question, but okay.
Wes is the if y'all came here for the sunshine pumping, Wes is your guy.
No, I don't do that. I'm not going to do that either.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, we're going to get on to USF, and as always, Mike's going to give us a good breakdown of what USF brings to the table. Mike?
Yeah, since USF is such a powerhouse, there's, I'll keep it nice and short for you guys to the point. So just quickly at a glance, now Jeff Scott, the former assistant over at Clemson, he's actually entering his 3rd season as the head coach over there, taking over for Charlie Strong. What he did that program is what Charlie Strong did is truly a war crime. Jeff Scott currently has a record of 4-14. Record of last year was a 2-10, but he did improve. Some off seasons of war. They're not the best team, but they are overall. They do have some talent on offense. Some off-season awards that they had from being all AAC is going to be at running back Jaron Mangham for 2nd team, wide receiver Xavier Weaver, 2nd team, O lineman Demetrius Harris, 2nd team, O lineman Donovan Jennings, 2nd team, O lineman Brad Cecil, 3rd team, O lineman Jalen Thomas, 3rd team. Defense, linebacker Antonio Greer, 1st team, and kick specialist, kick returner Brian Battie, 1st team. And some of the impact players, just to highlight, it's going to be Antonio Greer, probably their best player. Well, at least on defense. He's a very athletic linebacker and easily one of the best in the conference, has the ability to quickly close on a receiver in the middle of the field. His good acceleration, explosiveness make him such a special talent that last year he racked up 85 total tackles, 46 solo, 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 2 picks. His most impressive game last season was against the number 5 team in the country, Cincinnati. In this game, he actually racked up 14 total tackles, in which 13 were solo. And as we can see, especially with the NFL draft, that team actually was truly impressive. So, and another one, this is my personal favorite, was back-to-back impact players being kickers. Their kicker, I think he was going to be an honorable mention, actually, all AAC. He's one of the more impressive kickers in the country. He's a Washington. He attempted 13 field goals, and he made 11 of them, only missing from 40 yards or longer. He also attempted a total of 35 field goals and made all of them. So he's definitely a player to look out for. Now, just for the season outlook overall. Now, they're picked 9th out of 11. They're finishing ahead of Navy and Temple. They have an incoming transfer from Baylor. His name's got to be Jerry Bohannon. He started 12 games for the Big 12 champs last year, throwing for 2,200 yards and 18 touchdowns. Now, they've only played 2 games on a season, like us. Now, the first game, actually, versus who's currently ranked, was against BYU, who is now ranked 12th after beating number 9 Baylor last week. They lost that game 21-50. The score is actually 28-0 in the first quarter, so it was definitely a bit of a blowout there. But Xavier Weaver, the receiver, had 5 receptions, 113 yards for an average of 22.6 yards. Mekhi Polite, he led the team in total tackles, and he had 1 interception. Now for kick returning, one of the strengths, it's going to be Brian Petit again, 7 returns for 150 yards, 21.4 average. And Jimmy Horton Jr. actually had a touchdown for return, 1 return for 89 yards. Now moving on to week 2, they actually got a strong win over Howard, 42-20. Running back Brian Petit rushed for 105 yards on 7 carries. Wide receiver Xavier Weaver had 7 receptions for 57 yards, and the defense showed out. They had 3 sacks with a pick. Now, some of the takeaways from the season so far, they have playmakers at both wide receiver and running back. Overall, it's going to be a strong special teams group, most notably their kicker and kick returner. Now, with the strengths of the team, I would like to pass it over to Hirsch.
Yeah, they're, like Mike mentioned, they've got good playmakers at running back, a decent offensive line, a great kicker.
Be nice.
I mean,
they have multiple. Hey, at their O line, they have multiple all-conference kids, huh?
Yeah, I mean, their defense is very athletic and will, force turnovers. So you have to protect the ball. Playmakers at wide receiver, we're going to get to see, guys are going to have to play in a little coverage this week. Get some good reps in coverage, which is actually, I think, really good going into the Tennessee game, because obviously coverage is going to be just an absolute must when we go to Knoxville. And kick return game. So you need to be on point with your special teams. So you need to be good tackle, good fundamentals, stay in your lanes, things like that. I mean,
I'd honestly treat it like Kentucky and wouldn't let them touch the ball.
Absolutely.
And if Weaver's is only true,
very impressed with our kickoff unit so far.
No, absolutely.
Good.
I mean, we've been a lot of we actually ended up kicking it out of bounds, but we had a scare against Utah as well with that. Luckily, he was only on 35, was on 40, but still not ideal. But also, if it takes bracketing Weaver, you shut down Weaver. You can. It's pretty much our offense. I mean, obviously
Absolutely.
Besides the team.
But then, you figure that Marshall or probably we haven't. I don't think we say Jason Marshall's name which is how you want your number one corner to be. You don't ever want to say his name unless it's an interception.
Yeah.
That being said, we're going talking about their weaknesses. I mean, it's USF guys. They're not going to have Kentucky talent. They're not going to have Utah talent. This needs to be a well-organized scrimmage.
it needs to be a statement game with no mistakes.
Yes. I can understand maybe fine-tuning some things. Maybe, I don't know how vanilla you want to keep it. I mean,
you should be able to keep it vanilla and still dominate.
You should, but
I think this is where some of the kids, especially AR, needs to get the confidence back. How you do that, and that's going to be up to the game plan. If the coaches actually want to have an offensive game plan that utilizes their talent and decides to run the ball. But once again, that's neither here nor there, because with this being said, I have to, I don't have full trust in that, unfortunately.
At this point, though, that's something I was about to say is I don't know if they can do anything but vanilla. I have to be proven differently before I have to see some more complex play calling and change,
Vanilla should be a blowout in the first half is the point.
Absolutely. We have the running game. We should pound them at the line of scrimmage. You shouldn't even have to throw that much. I know we will, because he needs to get the reps.
Yeah, he needs live reps against opponents other than
not the same guys that he sees.
Not to get into Florida too much yet, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but speaking of that, now we're going to move on to Florida, guys. As always, we don't dwell on the last week's game very much. We turn the page after we do our Raw reaction episode. Please make sure y'all go check that out. If you haven't heard it yet, you missed a legendary rant by Mike. It was quite loud and powerful, and a lot of people said it was exactly what they needed to hear the day after a hard hard loss like that. We kudos to all of y'all that reached out and said, "Man, that was great. Y'all said everything that was exactly how I felt." That's what we try to do. At the end of the day, it's just we're fans just like y'all. We have some of the same feelings. We just try to dig into it a little deeper. But we're going to talk for a second about the areas we need to improve on going forward as far as, just what we need to do in this game, obviously to win the game, but not just to win the game, but to be ready to move forward to the week after that. And starting with that, obviously it starts at number one, AR. AR has to improve. And we just mentioned it. Passing needs to improve. We've got to get some reps against, like Wes said, live competition. And he's got to hopefully he did a lot of film work this week and saw some of what he missed, because I know everyone's had chances to see various breakdowns out there, and there's lots of good ones out there. I'm not gonna plug one or the other. You guys go listen to whoever you like to listen to. But plays were there. There were guys.
Receivers were open.
Receivers were open, and that's one thing I want to say.
Don't just blame the receivers in separation when the receivers were there.
There was a lot of talk, I know, Sunday about, we don't have playmakers at wide receiver. That might be so to an extent, but the receivers were open. Justin Shorter was open, running down the seam.
But I'd like to say this for the 10th time, and our receivers, are they great? No. Are they bad? No. They're
serviceable.
They're slightly above average. So if you think we have bad receivers just because we don't have a game breaker, someone to truly take the top off, you're wrong. Okay, our receivers are definitely more than competent and can win its ball games. Okay, just once again, the ball has to be delivered. So just because you're not the greatest, probably not going to have an all SEC guy, maybe not even drafted, that's okay.
Wes, you got anything you want to add on this?
No, I like our receivers. I think they're serviceable. I think they're above average. Doesn't mean you have to be an NFL draft pick to be a good college player. To me, they're big. That they're different with Ricky in the slot. To me, he's. I think he could. I don't want to say he can start anywhere in the country, but he can start for a lot of top 25 teams. He's that good to me, and you see the burst with him, and he has good hands. So I don't see for people to get on him. The scheme, just because sometimes a coach's scheme can scheme you open, and I think that's what you guys are talking about. They can't get separation. Shorter can't get separation, and Hendo can't get separation. Ricky can't get separation. Where sometimes coaches can scheme you open, and that's what we saw Saturday. They got schemed open, and AR just didn't hit the guys when they were open.
And that's, once again, that's experience in games and watching film. I have no doubt that they sat down and watched that film, got 15 plays into it, and realized that we had left 14 or more points easily on the board. Easily. And some of it's just him trying too hard. We talked back about the quarterback draw that they ran, and Garage missing the block. But even more so was AR not using his physical ability of being 230 plus pounds and 6'4". He tried to cut on the spy instead of just running straight forward when he needed 4 to 5 yards. And he's already 3 yards into the play, and then he tried to cut and then got stopped instead of just running through the guy, stretching out and getting the first down. And that's just overthinking it. That's just him not trusting in his athletic ability.
Billy might go for it if you make it 4th and 1 instead of 4th and 3.
Oh, I have no doubt with that play call that's probably what you were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the main thing with AR is confidence. I need to see if he has it. I don't care. What a play calling you have. You can't hit a slant or come back.
If he comes back in the first quarter of this game and is missing the same exact passes, the same exact way, there's an issue.
Because he wasn't missing difficult throws. So that's what's That's the thing.
He
Running,
was overthrowing
obviously,
guys on
it wasn't a
slant.
complex scheme.
Yeah.
No, like he was missing simple throws. And that's why, I'm not trying, I'm hoping the best for the kid, but that's why I was like, no, I want to see something else. I don't care who it was.
Let me ask you guys this question. I haven't looked at it. You guys, how's his mechanics? Because to me, he's missing high. So is that a mechanics thing, or is that?
I think that's overamped. I think that's just geared up throwing that ball so hard. He's just got to work on his. He's got to work on his touch, because not only is he missing high, but a lot of times he's missing behind.
Okay. And
that's more of it. He's just firing to a line instead of firing to where the receiver is going to be. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and plug a whole lot of breakdowns, but there's a lot out there that if you just go watch, you'll see. And most all of them pointed out he's just overamped. Like he's just trying to just zip it, and we all have our thought processes on should he throw every ball 100 miles an hour. Some throws are made for that, some throws aren't. A guy running open down the seam with a step on the safety, you don't have to throw it 100 miles an hour. You have to lead that man out in front, and that's the kind of pass I would like to see out of him, is more of a lead and not just everything being on a rope. And that's what NFL guys are going to want to see too. They're going to want to see, can you place a ball into a hole? It doesn't have to be a 12-yard curl and you hit the man right in the numbers with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, but can you throw that lead pass with touch that the guy can just run under and catch and keep running? And so far we haven't seen that, and that's what I'd really like to see some more of. Something else we all agree on we'd like to see different this week is offensive play call. We'd like to see some different, some better play calling, some run to set up the pass, and if something's not working, you got to adjust, man. You got to change it up. If it's not working, don't just keep running it, hoping to get the kid. I mean, you can say, well, you keep doing it to try to get the kid's confidence back, but do you cost your team in the end because of that? Is that
a question to both of you? Is better play calling the right vocabulary for that? Because the reason I'm asking you guys that, because we just said people were open. So is it better play calling, or is it better?
Absolutely,
that's an adjustment.
No, absolutely. So once again, I said this on the Raw Reaction show. At the half, exactly. There's a reason why we had 2 timeouts we didn't go for. There's no excuse for that. Okay, if you're recognizing that, if that's your action, that means you have no faith in your quarterback. All right, fine. So why, if you have no faith, why aren't you running the ball more? Why do you have essentially the same play calls? It makes no sense. 2 + 2 is 9. Run the ball at 65-35, 70-30. I don't care, but run the ball more. Put him in a better position to succeed. If you're not going to do that, put a new quarterback in.
And that goes to the next point that we were going to make as far as an adjustment goes, is you have 2 running backs averaging 7 yards a carry, and you got another one averaging 3, and that's only because one of his runs was twice as long as all the other ones. I mean, it just...
And even if it's just for one game.
Yeah, I mean, Naquan, maybe move Naquan to the back of the shuffle. I personally would like to see a steady dose of 2 and 7. I think everyone would at this point. I don't think I'm exactly remaking the wheel here by saying this. I think we would all like to see 2 and 7 get the majority of the burn out there. And that's an adjustment. That's an adjustment going forward. If Naquan's running into the pile and not reading the zone cuts, I mean, you can't just keep running him out there just to see if he gets it.
Yeah, it should be probably 40-40-20 turn the reps.
Absolutely. Or go with a hot hand. I'm all for if somebody's just seeing the hole better that night, go with that guy.
Absolutely. I don't have
a problem with it.
That goes to night by night. So not everyone's going to have the best night.
Yeah.
Each team's not playing well. You fumble. Okay, get
not reading the whole. Some days you just can't. You don't read the blocks right. You just don't.
Absolutely, and that applies to literally every player, including AR.
Absolutely.
A lot of teams, whether college or NFL, run a lot of two backs. You rarely see three, and that's the issue. And it's hard to get any rhythm when you're not getting carries.
Billy did that last year. And had
Yeah,
two,
I mean,
Billy did it last year. He pretty much had 2 1,000-yard backs. So he's done
that's my point. That's what I'm saying. It's hard to do three backs.
No. But he had 3 guys getting carries, and 2 of them had almost 1,000 yards.
He had
Billy's
2
done it.
He had 3 that had really good seasons.
Billy's done it.
But we'll see. We'll see how he adjusts.
It's hard to do that at this level. That's what I'm saying is when you're at this level, I'm not at Louisiana Lafayette. I'm not taking away from what he did. What I'm saying is the way they ran the ball there against that competition with their offensive line maybe more dominant there. It's going to be harder to do that here where you got with 2 backs and Naquan's not pulling his weight. That's what I'm saying.
I would safely say that yes, SEC defenses are just probably better than those lower conference defenses, but at the same point, you're still that's a lot of carries that to get.
But at the same time, you're gonna have, if you have SEC, I mean, your talent would be better. Like if you have SEC backs, SEC O linemen, okay, the D linemen are better, but so are your O linemen.
How many teams do you see? How many teams do you see do more than 2?
It's our play calling. It's our play calling. It's our play calling. It's I don't. How many teams do you see run triple wing, a triple option, or wing T, whatever? It's their specific play calling.
It's not going to work.
Per team basis. Everyone's different. How many teams do you see throwing the ball 6 times like Mike Leach? Is he wrong? No, it's him. He's the only
one. At the end of the day, if a guy's not getting it done, though, we need to get the guy out there that is. I mean, and I think we all agree with that. I don't think there's any argument that if you watch Naquan go out there and carry the ball 7-8 times for 30 yards or whatever it was, and then you watch Montrell get all that plus in 1 carry, and you watch some of the things that Etienne does just to get extra yards on every play, it's pretty evident what the talent level is out there, and I'd like to see that changed accordingly. Offensive line play. Obviously, this week we'd like to see some better offensive line play. You're not going to be lining up against the defensive line even close to the quality of Kentucky. These guys should prove if these guys have NFL visions of NFL grandeur, they should be pushing guys around all night. I mean, we should see defensive linemen on their back getting pushed into the second level without a doubt. So moving on with that, guys, like we always do, we're going to pick our impact players of the week. Mike, who's your impact player for this week versus South Florida?
I'm so a little mad we didn't get that dub because my impact player had been correct. I got Montrell Johnson. I think I have a little bit of faith. Keyword, little bit of faith. He's gonna he'll be the guy. Get the majority of carries. He also have the hot hand because he's the best back that we have on the roster, at least at the moment. So I have him getting over 100 yards, probably about a buck, say 107 for shits and gigs. So, but yeah, that's my guy.
Wes, who's your impact player?
The real best back on the team, Etienne. I got him breaking. I got him doing a dimps this week and really breaking one. We haven't seen a running back. I know Puron had one a couple years ago, but a true just leave everybody back there, 70, 60-yard run. Other than AR, yeah. I just need that in my body. So I mean, not in my body. I need to see that. My mind needs to see that. My eyes need to see that. So I'm good. I'm going with Etienne leading the team in rushing this week as well. So I'm gonna give him 2 touchdowns as well. And
hey Hirsch, 1 second. Since we're on running backs, the last Billy's 3 running backs last year had 838, 855, and 642 rush yards.
That's not 2,000-yard backs, and that's what I mean by giving one guy the hot hand. And in the SEC, you get fewer possessions. You can't do that. Fewer possessions, man. Same way in the NFL. SEC, fewer possessions. You can't do 3 backs in SEC. Nobody in the NFL does it. Nobody in SEC football does it.
All right. I guess Mike Leach didn't pass the ball.
He shouldn't because it hasn't gotten any wins for him. Has he won anything? Has he won anything? Has he won a conference championship?
A conference?
Has he won a division championship?
So, are you not a successful coach if you don't win a
Has he won a division championship?
What's the barometer? What's the barometer?
Is Mike Leach our barometer?
I'm asking you. Let's use an example.
It's not Mike Leach.
What's the barometer?
It's not Mike Leach.
I used an example.
And I'm shooting that one down. It's not Mike Leach.
If you run triple option, is it good?
Is it winning you ball games or winning you divisions?
Tom Osborne's pretty good.
So
let's move on.
I'm
going to talk about my impact player. It'd be easy to pick a running back because we probably should just run the ball in this game, but I'm going to go with our boy Justin Shorter for this one. Like I said, I've rewatched it a couple of times, and Justin was running open, man. And I got a feeling that they identified that in film this week, and I got a feeling we're going to see Justin catch a few balls and maybe one for a big gain. Maybe find him in the back of the end zone if we get down in the red zone. Just go with the senior leader there. So I'm looking for a big game from Justin Shorter.
I started to go back with Ricky. I changed my mind.
I think Ricky still got some issues with his foot. I'm not, obviously that report's not out there, but given the fact that he wasn't in late in the game,
that bothers me.
And just that it seems like a lot of all the routes that he's been making catches on are always the same. It just leads me to believe maybe he's still having more trouble within that foot than is being led on. So moving on, guys, we're going to hit our keys to victory like we do every week. And this shouldn't be too terribly difficult as far as keys to victory goes. Wes, what are your keys to victory this week?
I'm kind of slightly changed the key to victory. I'm just what I want to see in this game. And we all kind of hit it on it earlier. I just want to see, I think Mike said it clean. I just want to see not a lot of penalties, no turnovers. I want our defense to force some turnovers too. I think that's something that we need to improve on, turning the ball over, not a lot of penalties, and just clean football. No turnovers, no penalties, force some turnovers. D-line continue to dominate. That's what I want to see. We're going to win the game, so I don't think I need to say keys to victory. Just stuff I want to see is clean football, period.
Nothing wrong with that. Mike, what are your keys?
Protect the run the ball, period.
Mine is first, just don't overthink it, guys. Let's just, you're not out there, you're not playing some powerhouse. Go out there, do what you need to do. Call a smart game and just take care of business. And I'd like to see AR make the right reads. I'd like to see a progression this week in his reads. Like I was just saying about, I think Justin Shorter might have a good game. The reads are there. He just has to make them. I don't want to see him going with his first thought every single time. Look down the field, see where your guys are. Now that goes back to the offensive line needs to do their role, give him time, give him a clean pocket. But if he has that pocket, I'd like to see him make his progressions and look for some of these, deeper shots than these, and God bless, I don't want to see any wide receiver screens this week, please. But anyway, we're going to make our score prediction like we do every week. Mike, what's your score?
47-6.
Woo. Wes?
52-7.
52-7. He
Yeah.
truly is the hype man.
You can't make it. You can't.
I'm
That's
gonna
one
go
more touchdown.
I'm going to go a little more conservative, and maybe I'll catch some heat for this, but I'm going to say 38-7. I think we're going to probably.
That's fair.
I think we'll probably run the ball a lot. Like we said, I think the clock will keep moving. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of dead clock time and just, I don't know. I think we obviously I think we beat them up, but I don't think we blow them out like people are, would think.
You never know, man. If they put in that walk on in the fourth quarter, I mean, hey, that offense is gonna be buzzing like the Rams, man, back in the day. Greatest show on turf, man.
This is gonna make for some good quotes this week, guys. Y'all make sure y'all hit Mike up this week with his with backup quarterback names, with the best made up backup quarterback names, and we'll just put them on on jerseys for Mike. All right, guys. We're gonna get to the pick 'ems now. This week, man, boy, whoo. You know,
Champ is here.
the champ is kind of here.
I don't even care. I don't even care about
Mike,
the games.
Let's preface. Mike made a hell of a prediction last week, folks, and we're gonna give him his due because if we don't, we'll never hear the end of it, and we're not gonna hear the end of it anyway.
No,
but we're still gonna
okay.
give the devil his due.
Appreciate it.
Mike picked App State to walk in to College Station and grab the victory. I said I wanted to. I said I wanted to do it. I didn't have the cojones to do it. Mike did. But Hirsch still won the week 7-3.
That's fair. Because you said, hey, I think they're going to lose it in the fourth. And I said, I quote, not with that quarterback. Hey, I don't care if you have 300,000 people. If you're inconsistent, the crowd's out of it. Period. They were. App State, they travel. Vegas, I'll tell you what. I should have put money on a game. Would have paid out, would have got some nice shoes. But Vegas, I'll let you know I don't need 16 points. I'll do money line.
Baby need new shoes.
Yeah, bro.
Your boy Hirsch went 7-3 last week. Mike went 6-4 with the asterisk because he picked the big game, and man, our boy Wes is down there at 5-5. Whew.
I had a couple tough losses too, but hey, can't win them all.
So that means me and Mike are tied 14-6 on the year, and our boy Wes is down there at 11-9. And
it's tough.
I don't even want to say what our boy CJ went last week. He came with such great information, and man was so prepared, and God,
he was prepared.
He said stuff with such confidence and had probably much more thought put into all those picks than us put together.
1,000%.
And finished below all.
What does that tell you, man? Hey, you got to say things with your chest.
Yep. So here we go, boys. Week 3 pick 'em. We're going to start it off with the arch enemy, UGA versus South Carolina. What do we think, guys? What do we think, Wes?
UGA.
Mike?
Yeah, it's going to be hard for me to pick a Spencer Rattler-led team, even at home. And by the way, I think that's going to go south really fast. But I got UGA.
Yeah. We all say that. Guys, we're still struggling through this terrible slate of games. I mean, it was hard to find 10 good games this week again without, putting Florida. Obviously, we'd all pick Florida. All right, here's a good one, though. Here's one we're going to have to think about. Mississippi State versus LSU.
Who's got to think about it? It's, fighting Mike Leach's, baby. That's what, that was a setup. Hey, you think that wasn't by design? You give me one of the better follows on Twitter. Going in to Death Valley. Hey, fun fact, I shouldn't even give you this information. You not recall last year when their same quarterback set the passing record? Because I do.
Wes?
He'll pick it back.
LSU.
Ooh, okay.
I have no faith in Brian Kelly whatsoever.
Not at all.
Brian Kelly's I saw a tweet this week, and it was one of the better tweets I've seen in a long time, that Brian Kelly left Notre Dame to go to LSU and simultaneously burn down both programs at the same time. I think that's one of the best tweets I've ever seen.
I mean,
I'm going to go with Mike Leach, man. I'm going to follow suit.
Go, baby. I mean, Brian Kelly is a murderer, so.
Oh my God. All right. Going to College Station again. Oh boy. Miami versus Texas A&M. Mike. Ooh, he's gonna have a hard time with this one.
Not at all. Knowing it, so it's still a Manny Diaz, predominantly Manny Diaz team. So they're not disciplined. You're not going to be able to make up that in 1 year. They got, friendly reminder, they got booed at home. So they're gonna start off slow, and probably going to lose by 11 points. I take that back. About 15 points will be the difference. Go Fighting Jimbos.
And he's just doing this for sound bites, guys.
And we
don't need a spread. Wes, what you think?
I think I hate both. I hate Jim. I don't hate Texas A&M. I just hate Jimbo, and I definitely hate Miami. But since Texas A&M is home, I'm gonna go with and coming off that loss, I'm gonna go with them. I kind of like that defense, so I'm gonna go with Texas A&M.
I can't see. Miami ain't used to playing in front of that many people.
No, they never have.
Literally,
They never have.
Literally.
Yeah.
They're gonna think that that's like 3 combined crowds, like 3 home games, and you're still short probably 20,000.
Yeah, I'm about to say you're giving them a little credit. Yeah. They just got booed. I forgot who they faced.
Even I think A&M's gonna come out a little bit pissed off on this one. I hope so. But
Their offense is not good.
Me and my boy from Boone took care of business.
Yes, sir. All right, moving on down the line. We all got A&M. BYU versus Oregon.
BYU.
Oh,
hesitate.
BYU.
100%. I'll say with my chest, BYU. A little fun fact: never trust a Bo Nix led football team because he is, believe it or not, I can't believe I'm saying this. Bo Nix is worse at football than Will Levis. You're not gonna hear me say that a lot, but it's a fun fact. And yeah.
Wes took my daggum thunder right there. I was all prepped to talk about how I'm not betting on no Bo Nix football team, and Mike just took it from me.
No, that was Mike that took your thunder. That wasn't me.
I said Mike. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I should have. Oh man,
you got a Bo Nix stroke. If it's Bo Nix,
it's getting late in the night here.
I've been trolling Bo Nix for about 3 years, brother.
All right, Penn State versus Auburn.
So that's actually a great pick. I'll reserve mine for last. I got some time.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Wes. What you think? Penn State versus Auburn.
I'm gonna go with SEC on this. I'm gonna go with Auburn. Penn State cost me. Watch them do it to me again. I'm going with Auburn.
I have no faith in that program over there in Auburn right now. I don't. He's gonna have to prove it to me. So I'm gonna go with the Fighting Sandusky's on this one.
Well, if we're going in that rate, that you went to that realm. I was thinking about it. One, I don't trust James Franklin as far as I can throw him, and they look very consistent in a hostile environment at Purdue. Auburn is a consistent program. However, they can show up against talented teams, as evidence last year. But they definitely still have some talent. So I'm going to take the coach with the best-looking daughter. Go Auburn.
That breakdown made no sense whatsoever.
Hey, Mike is going with Auburn. I just looked up some stuff. I need to go back. I'm going with Penn State.
What?
No, let him. He'll be wrong.
I'm going Penn State. I had to look up some last minute stuff just now.
Man, this is why you got to know ball. You got to know ball.
Man don't know ball.
Michigan State versus Washington.
I'm first on this one.
No, go ahead,
Sparty. Go Sparty.
I knew Mike was going with Sparty.
My boy Mel Tucker. Man, I love me some Mel Tucker. Hey, and shout out to Chris Bogle and Broward legend, and also was it Kimbrough? 2 former Gators got robbed.
Go ahead, Wes.
Yeah, I said it at the same time Mike said it. I said Sparty.
Yeah, I'm going Sparty too on this one. Oh, Friday night.
Oh, it's a Friday night game?
Friday night. Oh. Florida State, Louisville.
That's a game changer.
What do we think? Go ahead, Mike. Kick us off. Florida State, Louisville.
I will give credit to Jordan Travis, looking like best quarterback in the state at the moment. However, it's Mike Norvell. He sucks. But no, all jokes aside, being a Friday night game is a huge advantage for Louisville. And as you can see with Louisville, putting stuffing us in a locker on our picks against UCF, they were definitely well prepped, and that was on the road. So I definitely have Louisville here.
Wes?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Louisville as well.
Ooh-wee.
Is that your final answer, Wes?
I don't think Louisville's getting up 2 weeks in a row. Florida State's had a little time here to get ready. Prep, had a week off last week.
I never
I'm
thought I'd
have
hear
to
the day.
Man.
See the day.
Maybe I'll reverse jinx them, but I'm going to go ahead and go with FSU. Ole Miss and Georgia Tech.
So me this time?
Yeah, go ahead, Wes. Knock us off with that. Ole Miss, Georgia Tech.
Rebels.
Okay. Mike?
Nice. Jeff Collins and Georgia Tech. They actually looked pretty solid.
They looked competent for about three
against
quarters.
Clemson, but Jeff Collins really let me down. He coached scared. Lane Kiffin hasn't been scared, and he just hasn't been scared. So I got Ole Miss is going into downtown Atlanta and taking care of business.
Yeah, man, my heart. I'm an Atlanta boy. My heart tells me I'd really like to pick Tech, but I just don't think they have the weapons to stay with them. Jeff looks good. Jeff Sims looks good for spots, and then some spots he looks absolutely lost.
He looks better, but yeah,
he looks better, but he looks like he might be a quarterback in the portal this year too. I mean, I just don't know. He might be at the University of Florida next year. We might want to keep an eye on that.
It's not even funny.
I'm just saying. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go with Lane and the Fighting Rebels. Purdue versus Syracuse. Oh, Wes, you gonna let Purdue give you another run?
Nah, Syracuse looks good, man. Syracuse is the one, like, both of their games that they've looked decent. So I'm gonna go, and they beat that Louisville team that we were just talking about from that beat UCF. So I'm gonna go with Syracuse. They're at home. Go with the home team.
All right, Mike.
Purdue let me down already.
I'm gonna go to the man with the best Beijing hair in the country, Dino. My man Dino is about to get it done. And if I'm not gonna be a fool like Wes was my boy, but that was a foolish picking Purdue.
They lost at the end, man, and they were.
I heard they lost. I got you. They lost. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm going with Syracuse.
He's still a great guy.
I think he's got a good thing going up there this year. I think they might going to surprise a few people.
Mike trashed them last week though.
Oh. Well, Mike, Mike does
what
he's got to do. All right, last game. Texas Tech versus NC State.
Is it on me? Who is it on?
Go Wolfpack, baby. Go Wolfpack.
Mike's making his pick, so we're not even going to worry about.
You're going to abandon the Red Raiders this week. You're going to abandon the Red Raiders after they gave you a win last week, didn't they? Against Houston?
A lot of teams give me wins because I know ball. A lot of teams give me wins.
Yeah, I'm going with is this the pick I want to switch now? Because Mike picked them too.
Oh,
I don't know. Texas Tech, they kind of, I don't know. They got
already did that with LSU.
Yeah, they got the backup quarterback like that was in last week, and I don't know if the starter's coming back. You know what? I don't like NC State. They didn't show me anything week 1 against East Carolina. Screw it. I'm flipping my pick just because Mike did it. Just because Mike picked NC State. Forget the Wolfpack. I'm going with Texas Tech. I hate the ACC.
Gotta love the logic there.
Just like the song says, NWO Wolfpack. Don't turn your back on the Wolfpack, baby. Too sweet.
I love them, man. Do you know what time that game is?
I do not.
Oh, that was a night game. Oh man.
All right, guys. The picks are locked in. We'll see what happens. Guys, it's been another great episode. A lot of information shared. We'd like to give a big shout out, big thank you to Nick Delatorre for coming on the show with us, man, and just bringing so much great information, hanging out with us, just chatting it up, answering so many questions. Love it. Thank you so much, Nick. Gator Nation, as always, please make sure you just go and download us wherever you get your podcast from. Like I said, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. We're available on all major platforms. Go check us out. Go give us a download. Write us a review. We like to hear from everybody and hear how we're doing and what you might like to hear going forward. Make sure you go check us out on YouTube. Respect Our Decision. Give our channel a subscribe, a like on the videos. Hit the notification bell. That'll tell you anytime we upload a new video, you'll get a notification to let you know it's ready to go. And once again, guys, if you'd like to support us on Patreon as creators, hit our Patreon up, Respect Our Decision. We got a lot of content coming to that very shortly. It's like as also blah blah giveaways. We're gonna get some stuff on there to raffle off, maybe some giveaways, some merch. We'll see what we got coming out here very shortly. Mike, you got anything you want to add before we jump?
I'm just glad we could bring it out at the beginning of the show, but just Bateman got us.
Bateman got us, man. You can't escape Bateman got us.
Hey, man, consistency is key, baby.
You can't even hope to contain it.
You really can't. You really can't. Not even the wolf pack.
The wolf pack, yeah. Wes, you want to take us home, brother?
Yeah, thank you, Gator Nation, for all the follows, all the feedback. We really, really appreciate you guys. As echo what Hersh said about subscribing to our pages. Check us out on Facebook as well. If we have that, Respect Our Decision. I'll try to keep things updated there as well. And of course, salute to our veterans. If you know any veteran, you're a veteran yourself, you need any assistance with trying to get disability claims or know someone in that situation, please reach out to us and we try to get you the information as soon as possible. Okay. Thank you guys. Go Gators. Back to you, Hersh, if you guys have anything.
I think that's about it, man. You said it best. Go Gators. Bateman got us. Go Gators. We love you guys, and we'll catch you on Sunday with our raw reaction to the USF game. Thank you so much, everybody.
Peace.